Following President John F. Kennedy's assassination, film footage supplied by a witness was scrutinized for clues to the killer's identity. Surprisingly, the film also featured a woman dressed in a brown jacket and scarf, standing on a grassy hill. She was dubbed the Babushka Lady because she resembled a Russian grandmother, Babushka. She appeared to be documenting the scene, and she kept filming even after the most of the throng had departed. She eventually went away to the east, up Elm Street, and vanished forever from history. The woman was asked by the FBI to come forward, but she never did. Her exact identity, as well as her possible role in the crime, are still unknown. In the late 1960s, the Zodiac Killer was a serial killer who operated in Northern California for 10 months. He is suspected of killing at least 5 individuals and injuring 2 others. The police received a phone call from a man claiming to be the killer after one of the killings, and he acknowledged the 2 earlier crimes. The individual eventually wrote a series of letters to the press, claiming to have ciphers that would lead to his identification. 18 letters remain unanswered, despite the fact that the majority of the codes have been cracked. The ciphers were useless to the cops, and the killer's identity has never been established. Despite a mountain of circumstantial evidence against him, the main suspect, Arthur Lee Allen, was never convicted. The most well-known serial killer in history is undoubtedly Jack the Ripper. He was active in London in the second half of 1888. His victims were usually prostitutes, and he committed his crimes mostly in the destitute, Whitechapel district. The bodies of the victims were discovered mere minutes after Jack the Ripper had fled the site in several circumstances. Despite a long list of suspects, the authorities have never been able to find the legendary murderer's identity. The Voynich manuscript is a book written in an unknown language using an unusual letter system in the Middle Ages. Over a century has passed since attempts to decipher the paper were attempted, but no breakthrough has been reached. The book includes plan drawings, some of which are unknown to current botanists, as well as astronomical data. It's likely that the book was written by an alchemist who utilized codes to keep his discoveries hidden, but no one knows for sure until the book is decoded. The Count of Saint-Germain was an enigmatic 18th century figure who possessed abilities in music, art, and alchemy. His whereabouts were unclear, and he vanished without a trace. There were reports that he developed an elixir of youth, and other persons have claimed to be him in subsequent years. Some individuals think Jesus appeared as different historical figures throughout history, including Saint Joseph, Plato, and Roger Bacon, under whose guise some claim he wrote the complete works of Shakespeare. Elizabeth Short's body was discovered sliced into 2 halves in a Los Angeles parking lot in 1947. The unidentified woman was dubbed the Black Dahlia by the press, following a film called The Blue Dahlia that was playing at the time. Despite the fact that the investigation into Short's murder was one of the greatest in the city's history, the motive and name of the killer have never been revealed. The Taos hum is a low-pitched sound, heard throughout the world, but particularly in the United States and Europe. It has been characterized as sounding like a faraway engine, and microphones and other electronic monitoring equipment have been unable to detect it. It's most well known for occurring in Taos, New Mexico, the place from which it gets its name. The U.S. Congress asked scientists and observers to locate the source of the sound in 1997, but they were unable to do so. In 1860, the Mary Celeste, a 280-ton ship, was launched in Nova Scotia. The ship was purchased from a salvage yard for $3,000 when she was 10 years old and put to use transporting alcohol from the United States to Genoa, Italy. The ship was eventually discovered floating in the middle of the Gibraltar Strait, with no one on board and no signs of struggle. All records were missing, with the exception of the captain's log, which provided no clues to the mystery. 2 lifeboats were discovered off the coast of Spain in 1973, each carrying 6 people and an American flag. The bodies were never identified, but there is conjecture that they were members of the Mary Celeste's crew. The Bermuda Triangle is a huge stretch of ocean in the North Atlantic where many planes and boats have vanished. The enigma has been explained by a variety of theories, many of which are not particularly convincing, including severe weather, time travel, and alien abductions. There is evidence that many of the disappearances were overstated, but even if those are subtracted from the total figure, the chances of disappearing are higher in the triangle than everywhere else. The cloth of Turin, which bears the figure of a crucified man, is said to be the burial shroud of Jesus Christ recorded in John 26:7. Despite numerous scientific research, no explanation for how the image was imprinted on the cloth has been found. There have been no successful attempts to reproduce the image. It has been dated to the Middle Ages by radiocarbon tests, but its existence has been known since at least the 4th century, and pollen and weave tests place it around the time of Jesus. Both the shroud and another fabric, the Siderium of Oviedo, appear to have been worn by the same person and contain indications of the same blood type, AB, which was uncommon in the Europeans throughout the Middle Ages, but prevalent in Middle Eastern individuals.